Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tearing into a seriously fascinating chat script called the Grail, Core Infrastructure Anomaly. If you are someone who loves high-stakes heist narratives, but you also kind of geek out over the incredibly nerdy depths of server room architecture, you are going to absolutely love this. We're looking at a scenario set inside an engine known as Jim 3.0. Basically, a user named Otto has to assemble a team to prevent a complete, total system meltdown. It is chaotic, it's brilliant, and the character dynamics are just perfectly dialed in.
Okay, let's dive into this, because what exactly does happen when you mix the heavy, rough-hewn medieval masonry of Arthurian legend with the clean, ultra-utilitarian lines of floor-to-ceiling server racks? Well, you get the round table room. This script masterfully contrasts gritty IT disaster management with mythical lore. Imagine cold blue LED status lights pulsing right over a massive ironwood table. It's an incredibly rich, frankly hilarious setting that hooks you from the very first line.
So the whole thing kicks off with a massive red alert. The inciting incident is a critical anomaly in the primary telemetry data. The system's thermal sensors on the primary racks are climbing, and they're climbing fast. Now, overseeing this impending disaster are two key figures. First up, we have Julian. He's sitting in a mesh-back tactical office chair wearing dark aviators in a subterranean room, which honestly tells you everything you need to know about his cool, dry, tactical vibe. Beside him is Arthur, the muscle. Arthur is intense, totally deadpan, and carries the gravity of a man who has stared directly into the void of a corrupted root directory.
Arthur leans his massive frame right over that ironwood table and delivers a line that perfectly captures the chaos of this world. We've mapped the entire perimeter. We need to find the Grail, or as the lower-level scripts keep compiling it, the T.O.W.E.L. The gravelly seriousness of Arthur's delivery, mixed with the sheer absurdity of calling the ultimate legendary digital artifact the T.O.W.E.L, is just comedy gold, but it's dead serious for them. The entire framework's thermal regulation will go completely sideways without it.
And honestly, this perfectly hits the nail on the head for the core joke of the script. The T.O.W.E.L isn't some mystical woven cloth. It's straight-up IT jargon. It is literally a multi-threaded garbage collection routine. Its one and only job is to wipe the cache before a memory overflow hits the learning matrix. Basically, the legacy code masked a massive database behind a mythical moniker. Julian even jokes that it just sounds like a memory leak waiting to happen. But to fix this impending memory leak, Otto, the user pulling the strings, needs to assemble a very, very specific team.
So Otto starts pulling together this incredibly eclectic heist crew. You've got Julian as your tactical leader handling the coordination, and Arthur as the muscle running point on infrastructure routing. But to understand the tablet of wildly endless learning, which is the core matrix, Otto calls in Merlin, the manic wizard dev. Then, to secure the actual assets they need, they bring in Juan the Batiste, a literal pirate and smuggler. And finally, they need Greg, the utterly deadpan systems engineer, to build a bridge. It's your classic heist crew assembly, but it's executed flawlessly through terminal commands and intercom patches.
And speaking of chaotic energy, enter Merlin. He steps out of a cloud of static-charged server exhaust, smelling of ozone and cheap gas station coffee, wearing a frayed lab coat over a tie-dye shirt. The tonal whiplash here is just amazing. Merlin brings this sleep-deprived, frantic developer energy right into the room. Waving a wireless diagnostic wand around like a madman, he's screaming that the tablet isn't just data, it's an adaptive, nonlinear heuristic matrix. If it drops, the mainframe literally melts to slag. Julian's response to all this yelling? Just a cool, muttered, "Told ya, memory leak."
But, knowing the problem is really only half the battle. They need a specific asset, which means they have to go off-grid. Enter Juan the Baptiste. He is the undisputed smuggler king of the outer subnets. And he doesn't just quietly walk in. He overrides the security protocols with a custom neon green command shell right on the wall monitor. He's smooth, highly theatrical, heavily accented, and operating entirely out of unindexed ports.
So Juan holds the keys to this heavily guarded hub of creation, but tucked away inside it lies the codec of creation. Merlin realizes, while complaining his eyes are shot from staring at green text since the 70s, that this isn't a normal data structure. It's an absolute compilation key. And as Julian points out, it's compressed to the absolute bone, which is exactly why it looks like some sketchy pirated torrent site. The crew suddenly realizes they don't just need access. They need massive, raw processing power to unpack this codec.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how Greg enters the chat.
While Merlin is completely losing his mind and Juan is laughing theatrically, Greg is just patched in from the deep-tier development bays. He's surrounded by empty energy drink cans, completely and utterly unbothered by this high-level security crisis. Greg brings pure, deadpan logic to all this wizard and pirate chaos. He's already indexed the repository and calmly states he can build the bridge, but he demands massive, unthrottled bandwidth to make it happen.
All right, so with all the players finally on the board, Otto lays out a master plan of escalating absurdity. Step 1, take the pirate hub of creation. Step 2, unpack that heavily compressed codec. Step 3, anchor it with something they call a ninth-dimensional pixel. And step 4, use all of that to force the hub to spool up a live debug portal. Julian perfectly describes this entire plan as elegantly chaotic.
Let's pause and look at step 3 for a second. What on earth is a ninth-dimensional pixel? Well, it's a hyperdimensional anchor point. By using this, Greg calculates they can essentially force-feed the codec straight into the hub's memory stack. This effectively tricks the system into spawning a sandbox layer before the boundary router's security handshakes even realize the root directory is compromised. It's a brilliant, extremely high-risk technical bypass.
But hey, high risk means wildly different things depending on who you ask in this crew. Arthur, the muscle, is gravely panicked. He rightly points out that hot plugging into the core engine while it's redlining means one single unstable packet will blow the local cache sky high. He is terrified about those thermal spikes. Juan the Baptiste, on the flip side, just throws his hands up on his monitor feed and laughs. He theatrically dismisses Arthur, shouting, "Ah, structural integrity. Always so boring, Arthur."
By this point, the tension in the room is off the charts. You can practically hear the server fans screaming in the background. Merlin is now pacing in a tight circle, static sparks literally leaping from his diagnostic wand into the damp air. He's just shouting, "The fabric of the network is bending! The system is redlining, the logic loops are catching up, and the frantic, manic energy of this scene is reaching an absolute fever pitch." Let's see how this all builds to the final climax. We get this rapid-fire, high-stakes system status check. Greg's typing speed doubles, filling the room with mechanical clatter. The ninth-dimensional pixel is loaded. Sandbox layer is initialized. Arthur confirms the bandwidth tunnel is holding, even though the thermal sensors are climbing dangerously. And Juan confirms the pirate tunnels are clear and the codec is ready to unpack. Everything is perfectly aligned for deployment.
Then the focus snaps right back to Julian. The blue LED status lights are reflecting off his aviators. He reaches forward, his gloved fingers hovering just millimeters above a glowing red tactical toggle on that ironwood table. The manic, screaming energy of the room suddenly focuses down to total silence. Julian asks Otto, and by extension, us as the audience, the ultimate question. The whole table is redlining on your word, boss. Do we pull the trigger?
So the absolutely crucial point here is that it all comes down to the power of choice. The script intentionally stops right here on this cliffhanger. Sally, the cheerfully eye assistant, even pops up with a digital clipboard to give a quick editorial briefing, noting that the script is synchronized to the millisecond and control reverts strictly back to the user. This explainer really showcases how overlying high fantasy archetypes onto rigid IT architecture creates this intensely thrilling, character-driven dynamic out of what's essentially a server reboot. So I leave you with this thought. With the wizard losing his mind, the pirate locked in, and the entire infrastructure ready to warp, what command do you type next?